This little box proves that getting a wife diamond earrings for Christmas will pay off in the long run. This box was indirectly given to me by my wife. I had to wind up buying it, but you know, I guess we don't believe in secrets. Well, she doesn't believe in secrets as much as I do, but she wanted to know what I wanted for my birthday, and I really didn't know. And also a combined Christmas gift. Saw this on eBay, and I went ahead and jumped on it. This is a 1925, I believe, Radiola 26. Adjust that there. Pretty much all here. It's one of the first Superhet radios. As you know, I've got the suitcase version, the 24, which I believe was made by General Electric. This was made by Westinghouse. Or was it the other way around? One of them. I can't remember which of the two. But the 24 wasn't near as popular as this one. This one is in a wood case, as you can see. Walnut veneer, if I'm not mistaken. And the face, I think that's copper. It may be brass, but I think it's copper. And I believe it has 6 tubes. It basically has the same circuit as the 24, it's just in a different setup. And its loop antenna is built into the door. So tonight, for the first of the series, I am eventually going to do a video series of restoring this and getting it to play. What I'm going to do first is just give a preliminary analysis of what needs to be done. Now I'm going to preface this. This has sort of been like Lovers Before the Wedding. The set's already had some things taken apart on it. I couldn't wait to open it up and see what needed to be done. So, with that in mind, I'll show you what has been taken apart and such, what needs to be done. Cabinet is in very good shape. It's got all of its hardware here on the loop antenna. It's all here. I don't know what these things are doing here. Normally on a 26, those don't belong here. So those may be coming off sometime. The good news about the set, this is part of the reason why I got it, and I might add, it wasn't cheap. Most 20 sets are not cheap. 6 tubes, Radiotrons. I'll try them out and see if they all work. Hopefully some of them survived, if not all of them, during the trip. I'm sure it was a pretty rough trip with the tender arms of the U.S. Postal Service. And okay, there's one. Hard to do this single-handed, but it's got like a little thumb screw that has like an arrow, and you line the arrow up this way, and you line this one this way, and that holds the faceplate together. Okay, knobs. Each one's supposed to have a little mother of pearl inset. I'm missing 3 of them. So that's not too bad, considering it's an 80-plus-year-old set. If you've got all of your stuff, all your teeth at 80 years old, congratulations, I'm proud of you. The antenna, it's got some scratches and such. I put a little bit of Howard's Restorer finish on this, a little bit of quadruple-aught steel wool, and it had some scratches and looked like chalky marks on it, and that removed most of them. This part I haven't done yet, but it doesn't look too bad. I'm not intending to make this showroom new. I want to have some character, because there are some pieces of veneer that are missing. I'm not that big cabinetry, so I want it to look old. But I do want it to look a little more presentable than what it is and be functional. I I have a handle on order. It came with a handle, but the leather's rotten, and the one I'm getting is just literally an exact replica of what's going to go in here. Same color, except modern materials, and should last. Looking forward to getting that. These will just need to be cleaned big time. I want to be able to, I'm not going to, I've seen some where somebody's just taken all the black and just removed it. I don't think that's the way they were supposed to look. However, that said, I think the raised areas here, like this dial scale and whatever, those should be lighter and have a little other area. The highlight should be lighter, and the darker area, the recessed area should be darker. And that's what I'm going to aim to do. Make it look nicer. Missing a screw up here. No big deal. The speaker, that's one area which I already gotten into. Let me see if I can put this down. To get into one of these, to access the speaker, you roughly have to put your fingers in here, and you just have to pull. That's not the easiest thing in the world. In fact, I'm not having much luck. There's one side. Let me get the other. There we go. And then you just lift up. Now, this door, excuse me, just dropped. Sorry about that. As you can tell, I'm an amateur with a camera. This little door on the bottom here, the wood was splitting a little bit, so I went ahead and glued that down. It's a little bit spread, not too bad. And it was missing one of the pins. It has two pins that go into those little eyelets that are down there. Well, I just grabbed a safety pin, paper clip, and just cut it to size, and then just glued it into place along with the original. And I'll need to go over this and fix, get the finish to look a little nicer. This was an indication that it had been modified, and it did. It was modified at one point. This is where the speaker goes, by the way, and I've already removed it because I have some things I need to do on it. There was a switch here with a couple of capacitors. It was a slide switch. Here's the wiring. So this is not original. It's going to here. That's the antenna circuit. So I'm kind of wondering if something had went wrong with the antenna and they decided to put this in here. They could throw a switch and maybe add capacitance to it. Not really sure. Inside here looks really good, a little bit musty, dusty, and dirty, but otherwise it's in really good shape. Here's a shock absorber. There's 3 shock absorbers total that hold the horn speaker in place. One's here, and then there's a bracket that goes here, and I'll be showing you that shortly. And there's one on top, one on the bottom, held by 2 spindly rods, which then are connected to the horn speaker. Here's the horn speaker. Folded horn, using one of the RCA headphone elements like you see here. I went ahead and polished it up a little bit. It's got one of the wires connected here. I am pleased to say I put a meter across this. It is perfect. It works. And you can see one of the little struts that I was talking about that go to the shock absorber. Well, the problem is those struts break off. I've got to find a way. It looks like somebody tried repairing it and blobbed a bunch of solder. It could even be JB Weld. I have no idea. I haven't gotten this far into it yet. But that's going to have to be repaired before I go any further. But the whole shebang, let me just dummy this in here. Fits in there sort of like that. And these shock absorbers keep the speaker isolated from the rest of the cabinet so you don't get any microphonics. This is the bracket for the speaker. It would fit something like this, straight up and down. And in here, which I can't show my fingers, right here with my wiggling ring fingers at, is where the speaker would be mounted. And you see one of those struts here in the middle with one of the shock absorbers. Again, I've got to repair that. And the other thing I've got to do is, in each one of those shock absorber cups, and I have this one removed for right now because I wanted to see what the condition of the shock absorber was. Well, it was lousy after 80 years. The foam rubber has just turned to rock. I'll need to mold 3 new shock absorber mounts and then put them in. Should be a relatively simple task to do. Just use the cup as the mold. Alright, with that in mind, let's go look in the back. Just about forgot. One thing I forgot to mention. There's a button latch here. There's supposed to be a piece that comes out and it has like a little blister or a little indentation. It's not really an indentation, it sticks out. And it's supposed to latch into this door. Where's my finger? There it is. Right here. Well, the problem is this is broken off. I need to find a replacement. Either that or I'm going to have to fabricate one. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to need to, I'll probably be in a better position to replace it with a new old stock one. So if anybody has a junk set, at the final part of my this little episode, I'll say what parts I need. Now let's get to the back. Back is pretty much straightforward. Small latch here. You lift up the ring and you pull down. This is roughly what it's going to look like on the inside for the batteries. You'll have 3 number 6s that stack one on top of the other for the A battery. There'll be 4 B batteries. I've got them dummied here for right now. I'm going to do them in 1920s Rayovac like this. And then, this one I thought was kind of neat. The C battery I thought was going to be one of those little ones that you had to put double A's or something like that in them. No, it's not that at all. They have 3 D cells. Excuse me. Dinner's talking back at me. Sorry about that. 3 D cells that go across here. There's supposed to be a little cardboard tube, and you see this little curved piece? That rubs or holds up against the D cells. So when you stack the 3 up here of the number 6s, and then that will help hold the D cells in place along with the cardboard tube. You can see one of the contacts here, and then there's another one that's over here. To get to this, the horn, to get it moved out, there's 2 screws back here, and you just merely unscrew them, and the whole assembly, once you give it a good sharp tug, removes it. As to the wiring, I know a lot of it's going to have to be resoldered. I'm not sure which wires are still intact or not. This holder is still good. Has a little bit of a crack in it. It's phenolic, probably Bakelite. These were missing for the most part. I went ahead and got some new wing nuts that fit. This area, the B, has like an H pattern holder that's supposed to be here. I've got to fabricate that. Should be straightforward. Nothing big on that. And then, if you're wondering what this little thing is, this is kind of a neat set. You might remember my 1950s General Electric convertible radio segment. It was the one that was a clock radio that the radio and the clock separated, and you could have a portable radio and take it with you and then plug it into the clock mechanism, and then you'd have a AC powered clock radio. This was basically the same idea, except of course they didn't have AC radios yet. But what they did was you had these portable batteries. They only lasted for so long. Take this out with you on an outing. But then if you wanted to use it as a home radio, I don't know if you can notice it here. There's a little hole here. Now there's this plug. This plug has all the necessary connections to power this radio. You snake it down into that hole, you place this radio on top of this big tuner box. The tuner box holds bigger batteries. More number 6 cells and 2 big, large 45 volt batteries. And then you plug that into the box. This sits on top, has a little knob in the middle that allows you to tune the antenna a little bit more, and instantly you have a convertible home radio. Now I'm not going to pull out the catacomb yet. I'm going to do that during the restoration part because it's just going to be a little too tedious to get that front panel out. There's a couple other things I wanted to show you. Is right here and then right here. I need one of these parts, by the way. But you see they kind of have like a key mechanism in here. Well, here's what the deal was. If you wanted to play this radio without having this door swung out, this antenna is removable by undoing this screw, and you can take that octagonal piece out. And if you notice, there's a little notch here. There's also a same notch on the bottom. You hang it up in here. There's a little metal piece that's springy, connects up to that little nub. There should be one here too, but here's the nub that would, here's the piece that would match up with that nub. You can hang the radio, the antenna, back here. This leaves this front door, the inner part of it, wide open, and you can tune the set any which way you please without having the door open, which I thought was rather clever. Now I'm eventually going to be restoring this. It's almost going to be like a Model T. Everything's pretty much going to have to be taken apart and redone. So, I will talk about one more thing before I begin to talk about my haves and needs section. If anybody in the YouTube audience has these, I'd appreciate it. I want to talk about one more thing. Is that back in here, there's this metal box. Do you notice behind those tubes? When RCA had they were the ones that had the sole patent on the Superheterodyne. They had a lock on it. Anybody else wanted to build a Superhet, they had to get a license. Some did, some just skirted around it. Well, when they first made these sets, they didn't want anybody to know how the circuit was designed. So behind those tubes is a large box which they call a catacomb. The catacomb holds all the coils, a few capacitors, and what have you. It's pretty much just the heart of the set. To prevent people from looking at the circuit and how everything was put together, they took all of that and sealed it in a rosin, kind of like a pine tar rosin. The idea was if the catacomb went bad, well, then you just went to your RCA dealer and got yourself a new cat. Sent the old one to the factory. Nobody had to take them apart. It was a trade secret. Well, that's long since ended. So the only way that you can repair one of these, because I might also add one more thing. Over time, that rosin has a tendency to shrink, and all of those wires, that rosin's pretty hard, it will pull those wires and break them inside, so your set's left inoperative. The only way to fix it, you gotta get rid of the rosin. How do you get rid of the rosin? You gotta take that catacomb apart from the chassis, and you've got to put it in an oven, probably around 250 degrees, and melt it out. Now, I don't know about you. I've already talked about my wife, and I told her I wasn't going to do that because I knew that was going to be an instant divorce starter. There ain't going to be the smell of sweet, sickly pine tar wafting through the house when it's put in her brand new oven. That ain't going to happen. That's her baby. I'd be a damn fool to even try doing that. But the good news is we have an old toaster oven, and it should be just large enough that I can stick this in here. Oh, if it hasn't been melted already, I have a good feeling it probably hasn't been, and melt out the I call it tar, the rosin out, leaving you with the, I wouldn't call it bare chassis, but you're able to actually work with the components on the inside. On my 24, that was already done for me, and I thought, thank God, I'm not going to have to mess with that. This one, I'm probably going to have to. The other thing I've got to do is inside here, there were supposed to be 2 foam rubber shock absorbers for the catacomb. One of them was completely missing. The other one was so deformed it was almost unrecognizable. So I've got to make some new ones. And that's not going to be too much of a problem. What's going to be guiding me on this restoration is a website done by a gentleman in France who got one of these as well. And he pretty much shows you step by step what's involved in needing to take it apart, what reproduction parts to make for like the rubber shock absorbers and the ones up here and then the ones down here. Other things that need to be done. So as I go along with restoring this set, I'm going to be referencing the techniques that he does. He even went so far as, you think these UV199s are hard to get here in this country. I imagine they're almost next to impossible in France, so he made his own tubes. I'm probably not going to go that far. I'm going to hope that these are all going to work. In fact, one of the episodes I'm going to be doing is once I make sure that I've got all the wires and everything, the battery wires in the back, I'm going to hook up my 3 number 6s, if they're in good shape, and crank this up and see if they start to glow. If I get filament, then I'm in good shape. Okay, let me turn the light on. Alright, haves and needs. Not so much haves, it's going to be more needs. A few questions. There are 2 small holes that I notice over here. What the hell are they for? I have no clue. I don't find anything in here unless they were somehow used to help remove the door, which I doubt. I would like to know what the heck these are. I see them on every single one of these. Don't know what they are. I just want to go on ahead. If somebody's got a junk one of these, I need a new door latch. This thing is supposed to stick out, and there's supposed to be a little pip that comes out to latch up with the door. I'd really like to find one of those. Screws? Yeah, I'd love to find another one of those. I may not be able to, but I wouldn't mind having that. What else? Everything else here on the front looks like it's in pretty good shape. Mother of pearl inserts. If I can't find any for this set, I may just make my own reproductions and stick them on here. That pretty much covers that. Another thing I'm going to need, I need another one of these covers that's got the little key lock insert on here. This one's missing. I'd like to be able to use the antenna the way it was intended when it's hooked up back here. And if we could get, if I could get one of those, I'd be really happy. And let me see. I don't know if there's anything on the inside. I guess if somebody happens to have the B battery holder, I wouldn't mind having one of those too. I think I've got pretty much everything else. Those are really the main things I need that I can think of. I think there's also a screw that's missing on this latch over here, but I think I can deal with that. That shouldn't be a problem. So if you happen to have a Junk 26 and happen to have these parts, please let me know. I would love to have as much of this fully functioning as possible, and if I can get those parts, that will help me on my way to it. So at this point, I'll leave you with this, and we're going to continue with the Howard, and once it's finished, this bad boy is going to be taken apart.